Hey everyone, today we're going to be doing top 10 directors with my father. You probably know him from our podcast we had a while ago and stuff like that. He used to film my really awful Nerf gun videos and he didn't want to be shown in them, and I don't blame him. But yeah, today we're going to be doing the top 10 directors. I brought him here to help me because he knows a lot of other ones that I don't know about. So yeah, we're going to be doing a top 10 directors. Just kick it off with...
Well, thanks for having me, Gavin. I don't know if my list will be too much different than yours, but I'm excited to put my ideas out there and talk over some directors with you.
Okay, well, what's your number 10?
Okay, my number 10 director is Danny Boyle. Danny Boyle is a British director. This is one you may not have heard of. You're going to see in my list, my theme is directors that can do multiple different things well. They don't just make one kind of movie. They make a wide variety. Danny Boyle made 28 Days Later, which is an awesome horror movie. He made a movie called Trainspotting, which is a really interesting movie, I think in the late 90s. One of my favorite sci-fi movies, which is kind of a sleeper, a film called Sunshine, which the ending's not great, but the rest of the movie is really, really good, and a lot of people have not heard of that one. And Slumdog Millionaire, which won the Oscar.
Oh, I've heard about that movie. I have heard about Slumdog Millionaire, but that's it. I've heard you talk about him a bit. I've heard you ramble on about him.
Yes, I have rambled on. British director Danny Boyle does some really good things. He's my number 10.
Well, my number 10 is going to be a really generic blockbuster one, which is going to be Peter Jackson. Most of this is because the Lord of the Rings trilogy, because I think it's, like, objectively, it's the best trilogy of all time, and it's honestly actually pretty rewatchable if you're in the right mood for it, if you're in the right mood just to watch something long. The Lord of the Rings trilogy is one I highly recommend because it's just like the perfect binge trilogy just to go through, and the character arcs are very compelling. And the thing is, he's one of those directors that focuses a lot on character, but there's a lot of really fantastic visuals. If you notice, the camera work is very well done. So he's someone that's able to do the blockbuster, do the characters and the story, but can also do cinematography and stuff like that as well. Also, he made The Frighteners, which is a very entertaining horror film. So.
He did not make my list, even though I love The Lord of the Rings. I think it's a great trilogy. To me, that's his kind of peak, and that's the only thing he did really, really well in my mind. That's why he didn't make my top 10, even though I respect his work, and I love The Fellowship of the Ring.
Okay, so what's your number 9?
My number 9, he has the last name Scott, but it's not Ridley Scott.
It's his
brother, Tony Scott, which a lot of people don't like as much as Ridley Scott, and that's why he's number 9 on my list. Again, he does some different things. Underrated movie Unstoppable about a runaway train. I know a lot of people don't like it, but it's very rewatchable. He made the movie Crimson Tide, which is one of the best action films of the 90s. I stand by that, with Denzel Washington and Gene Hackman. Phenomenal. He actually did Beverly Hills Cop 2, which is a great sequel.
And I love Beverly Hills Cop 2. That was so fun.
He did Quentin Tarantino's first film, first script, a True Romance, which is another great movie. And even though it's cheesy, he's responsible for Top Gun. So he did a lot of good things there, Tony Scott. Great action director.
Okay, so I forgot to add this part in the video. That's why the whole thing was a little bit messed up. But yeah, my 9th favorite is going to be Frank Darabont. I mean, he made this movie. He made my favorite film of all time. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Popcorn movies.
I haven't seen any of his films, so I'm guessing there's going to be a lot in here. Sorry if I bend down or whatever, and that's very weird because
we're checking our phones to see our list.
I'm a very oddly shaped person, but I have my list here. My number 9 is James Cameron. I haven't seen all of his films. I have yet to see True Lies, which is supposed to be really great, and I'm really excited to watch it. But he also made 2 of the greatest sequels of all time, Terminator 2 and Aliens. I've always preferred Aliens over Terminator 2 because I just think that I think it proves a lot on it, and just the payoff in that movie is outstanding. Yeah. But I do also love Terminator 2. I think it's a very fantastically actioned, choreographed. And I think it's phenomenally done. That the dynamic between Arnold Schwarzenegger and John Connor is just really fantastic. And I love Terminator 2 as well. Avatar is awful. I couldn't even finish it. I had to just walk out in like the third act or something, which basically that's where I'm like, I've basically seen the entire film. It was just that awful.
You didn't even like Avatar the ride.
You
didn't even like that.
I mean, I liked it. My back just hurt. I don't talk about that.
No, I like James Cameron too, and I think I told you this. He also did the set design for Escape from New York, so he didn't direct that, but classic 80s sci-fi movie, he was involved, and that movie looks great, and part of that's probably due to Cameron. So
yeah, Titanic is a great film. I think a lot of the emotion and the weight of that film is in the second half of it. I love what he's done. I mean, it's not controversial to say that we wish he's done more movies because he's made so many great films.
Right. Yeah, right. I agree. So I'm at my number 8 now.
Yeah.
This is gonna be a shock because I didn't put him that high. Is Martin Scorsese, and I like Martin Scorsese movies, but in my mind, he does a couple things really well, and he does them exceptionally well. But he doesn't do a big variety of movies. I love Goodfellas. I think Casino's a great movie. I like Shutter Island. I like The Departed. I like all those movies, but he's kind of doing the same thing in a lot of those movies over and over again. He's brilliant.
But I think with a lot of his films, it's like there's a reason why he makes all of them, and I think you have films like Shutter Island that are almost like a horror film.
Yep.
He also has like films like Age of Innocence, despite I don't like that movie. It's still a period piece romance, which is something you would expect from him. I'll talk about him once a week
because he's probably your number 1.
We'll see.
He's high. 8 is pretty good on my list, and he's made some of my favorite movies.
So, okay, let's see. So my number 7 is Wes Anderson, which is someone I don't think you watch many of his.
Not many, but I've seen some.
Yeah, my mother likes watching his movies more. But yeah, I did a Wes Anderson ranking recently, and you guys a lot of you guys, art house fans or whatever, really seem to enjoy that. I really like his movies. My favorite of his is definitely Rushmore. I think that just the drama with it, the fantastic performances, the themes, it just resonates with me on a whole other level. He just has this odd style to his movies.
He does.
But it's like, I've heard some people say, his movies are just quirky and fun. No, if you're saying that, you're wrong. But it's like he has compelling characters and drama and story at the same time. So it's like, I disagree with you and you're wrong. But yeah, I love Wes Anderson's work. I think he's one of the greatest directors working today, debatably the best. I think Isle of Dogs didn't meet up to his standards very much, but he's such a fantastic director.
Yeah, not a huge fan, but I do like some of his movies, and I can see why you put him on your list. Makes sense. My number 7 is the other Scott brother. So I have both Scott brothers in my list. Ridley Scott. Gladiator, probably not my favorite movie of his, but popular, won the Oscar. I like Alien a lot. That's one of my favorite horror sci-fi movies ever made. I think it's brilliant. I could watch it over and over again. The set design, the way these ships look, the fact that was the first time they showed space that was like working class. When you look at other sci-fi movies, the ships look perfect. The people look clean and perfect. What I liked about Alien was you could tell they were working people, miners, engineers. Their ship was kind of dirty, looked lived in, looked dinged up, and I really liked that. That was different. And then the design of the creatures and all that, obviously it's amazing, and obviously it's a franchise that still holds up today. Yeah, go ahead.
I've only seen 2 Ridley Scott movies. The Duelist, which I thought was good, and I liked the dynamic of the rivalry between the characters, but it didn't have much of a story, really. I really loved Alien. I do think at times it does kind of drag and feels like it's trying to extend, but I do think that it's the second movie that really defines space on a whole new level, which 2001 and Alien, I think, are the 2 movies that are able to define space so well. So
I wanted to add one more. I also like Blade Runner, which is an amazing movie.
Yeah, I've heard some people say it's his best movie. A lot of people either say Alien.
It's a movie that makes you think. It's a movie that's rewatchable. Harrison Ford is amazing in it. The set design, again, is amazing. He does really good with visuals, and that's why I like Ridley Scott. Like the visuals in Alien stand out. The movie could be released today, and you would say, wow, that's a really well-made movie. And the same is true with Blade Runner, which I think was released in 1983. That could be released today, and you'd say, wow, that's a really well-made movie, even though it was made so long ago, which is amazing to me.
My number 6, I think we're on number 6, is going to be Alfred Hitchcock. I think with Alfred Hitchcock is like, I still got to see a lot of his films. I heard there's Rope that's supposed to be really great. I got to see Vertigo, but I will say Psycho. It's an instant classic. It's my favorite of his, not controversially, obviously. It's a horror classic. North by Northwest is a fantastic movie as well, which is just a movie that's just nonstop fun. The pacing in that movie is absolutely perfect. The Island for Murder has some of the best dialogue in film history, in my opinion. It's just so quick, fast-paced, and I love that. Those are like my 3 ones of his absolute love. But besides those, I don't think there's many of his movies I have seen that like absolutely popped to me, really. So it's like, and some of his other films are just like, they don't have much of a plot, really. There's just kind of things that go through. I've heard some people really love 1940s Rebecca movie. I watched it on YouTube, and I wasn't too big on it. I thought the dialogue at times was good, but it just felt like it was just extended. And I've heard some people praise it. I don't understand why, because I just don't think it's that great of a movie. Maybe it's just because of old age, but I wasn't a fan of it. But I will say those three films I mentioned are like some of the greatest movies ever made. So.
I like Hitchcock. He did not make my list, though. Just going to put that out there. Good director. Does one thing, again, really, really well. Does it in a lot of different ways. Just didn't make my list. Am I number 6?
Yeah, I think...
Yes, number 6. Yeah. My number 6 is James Cameron, who's also on your list. I love Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. I think those are great movies. I also love The Abyss, which is another kind of underrated sci-fi movie. It's like 3 hours long, but phenomenal. And Aliens. I'm one of those weird people that likes Alien better than Aliens.
I mean, there's some people that said that you're not on like the controversial side.
Oh, okay.
I know people that like Alien more than Alien.
But I do like Aliens. If you had to make me pick, I would go Alien over Aliens. But Aliens is a really good movie. I don't like Avatar. I wish James Cameron
lot of people don't like
would
Avatar.
Not direct any more Avatar movies. He could find other things to do with his time. It doesn't seem like he's doing much else. But I like those movies.
The thing is, Avatar, there is something cool under there that could have been good in the first movie. But the first movie was just like Pocahontas or Dancing with Wolves. It could have been like a really cool movie, and I feel like in the second one, if they explore the story a lot more, which they're gonna have to do. If we're doing a rehash, then there's no way people are gonna give it a positive score. But there's potential that it could be good with the interesting intricacies that are in the ideas you can.
Well, I have no desire to see it, but when I saw the Terminator as a kid, I really enjoyed it. I thought the performances are amazing, and the idea was really interesting, and I still think it's a good movie.
The thing is that James Cameron's like the king of sequels because he made 2 of the greatest sequels ever made in Aliens and Terminator 2, and that's part of the reason why I put him on here. My number 5 is going to be Steven Spielberg. I love his films. I think in the 80s, in some of a good amount in the 70s. I actually a lot of people say 1941 is an awful movie. I actually think it's really funny. Like, I'm like the only one that actually has enjoyment out of them. Like, I think it's actually a funny movie. But I actually really thought he did a good job at this. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. Actually, no, I'm not. But I thought he was really great in the 80s, of course. I mean, that's his pride. That's when he strived. 90s, he was still, I remember him being really good. I haven't seen Schindler's List, so whenever I see it, if I do see it, then I guess I'll fully know because that's supposed to be his best movie. And then the 2000s, okay, you're not completely off track. You got fantastic films such as Minority Report and such, but then once you get to the 2010s, he just kind of lost his good streak. Because we have the BFG, which was one of the most, I think,
I've never seen the
movies. You're not missing out on anything. It's just one of the most nothing movies. Ready Player One had some cool ideas, but overall it was just really generic. And
that's probably the last Spielberg movie.
Yeah, that's the last Spielberg movie, and
it was decent.
It was
decent.
Yeah.
It was not.
He's making a musical, which is interesting because anytime he tests things, 9 times out of 10 he does a fantastic job. In fact, 10 times out of 10, I like 1941. I will defend it.
Okay, so you like even his weaker movies.
Yeah, like a lot of people say that it's a bad movie, but I find it really fun.
Interesting that he's in this spot on your list, then.
Yeah, I like Spielberg. I think he's really fantastic, and he's made some what is there more to say about his old career? But it's like now he doesn't make good movies. Hopefully, West Side Story will bring him back as a director.
Okay. Am I on my number 5? I think that was your number 6.
That was my number 5. 6 was Alfred Hitchcock.
Okay. Because then maybe I have one extra on here. Maybe I have added. Well, I'll just have to do 11 directors then, if I have one extra on my list. But my next one on the list are the Coen brothers, who make kind of dark comedic movies sometimes. But they've made some of my favorite ones. Even their early one, a movie called Blood Simple with Bill Paxton and Billy Bob Thornton. It's one of their oldest movies. Works really well. They do a great job of showing people in tough spots how they struggle and how they suffer. And then there is also comedy in it, which is really hard to balance, but they do a phenomenal job of it. They also they did Fargo, which is an amazing movie. No Country for Old Men, which won the Oscar. Fargo might have as well. I can't remember. It won some Oscars. And then one of my favorite oddball comedies, The Big Lebowski, which is like a cult favorite where they blend, again, humor and bizarre situations and really good characters. They're pretty brilliant, and I don't think they get enough credit for what they're able to do.
And any of their movies, so I don't think so. My number 4 is Christopher Nolan. I think one of the most fantastic things about his work is that he's someone who makes blockbusters once again, but he doesn't just, he's not like, he doesn't just add in cheap jokes or just cheap laugh to get out of there, because like you could count Christopher Nolan jokes on through your fingers and be good, because he doesn't add MCU humor. But anyways, I've seen the MCU a lot. But the thing is, it's like with Tenet, I really love Tenet. As confusing as it can be, I think if I rewatch it, I'll understand a lot of the things it's going for. It has a fantastic concept. It has really great action, actually, and I think the action is really well done and interesting. And I think that movie is a great concept. I basically forgot Inception. Like I have to rewatch it.
Okay, can I interject?
Okay.
Here's my problem with Nolan. Like, it's sometimes the concept becomes the most important thing in his movie. Like in Inception, just me, the most important thing is the concept. So I don't care about the plot or the characters all that much.
But I mean, the concept is part of the plot.
It is. It's part of it. In Tenet, I felt like the whole movie was just about the concept. And so I did not care about the characters. I was just like, okay, the things are moving backwards through time. I get it. But the concept became the most important thing. And that's why I didn't like Tenet.
But I mean, who's the lady's name of the movie? I forgot her name.
See? You forgot her name.
I normally forget names. This isn't like a common occurrence or whatever. But I guess the protagonist, which his name's protagonist, by the way, girlfriend or whatever. I thought she was a really well done character. That I understand what.
Yeah, she was probably the best one.
To refer. John David Washington was fine. I didn't think it was like the greatest thing about the movie, but at the same time, I thought he was solid. I thought he was like he was kind of like a James Bond character.
He was solid, but
yeah, Kenneth Branagh gave like in my opinion, one of the best performances of the year. So I thought he was probably the best actor in that movie. I will say though, I do see where you're coming from, because it's like there's a lot of movies where like Dunkirk is like a big example of this, where it's not even about the concept. It's just about the spectacle of everything. It's just about, okay, this is a war movie. Don't care about the characters. These are just plot points to move the story forward, and that's my main issue with that. But the things with Tenet, I could somewhat connect with the characters enough for me to...
It just feels like, to me, this is the trend he's moving towards. Where I liked his earlier movies better, even though the concepts are always big in his movies. Like in Memento, obviously the concept is a huge part of the movie.
But it's also the character.
Yeah, even in Prestige, the Prestige, the concept is a big part. But it just seems like he's moving in this direction where the concept is becoming more and more important than the other parts of the movie. Yeah, and I'm just not a fan.
And I think a big part of this is what happened with Inception. That was such a big success. And then you go to The Dark Knight Rises, where a lot of the spectacles, like the biggest positive I have for the movie, and there's insanely massive plot holes and really lazy script writing. And he said he didn't want to do a third movie, but they made him do it anyways. If this was just a duology, I honestly probably like it more, because I think The Dark Knight Rises was not that good of a film, and Interstellar was good, but at the same time, I mean, it has character, it has that type of aspect, but it's like, it's really so long, and it doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be 2 hours.
I liked Interstellar up until the last 30 minutes. But I thought he did a great job in that movie of outlining the characters and who they were and their connections. I thought he did a phenomenal job.
And the thing is, like, it's longer than 2001, but the thing is, 2001's a lot more captivating, in my opinion.
Maybe. Should we move on?
Yeah, I guess we'll move on.
I have no idea what number I'm on, because I think maybe my list is 11, unless you're off one or I'm off one. My next director is Stanley Kubrick, who I really enjoy his movies. I like his eye for detail in movies. And again, he can do a horror movie. He can do a war movie. He can do a sci-fi movie. They all kind of have his style to it, but they're all unique creations. And that's what I like. He doesn't fall into one genre and say, that's what I'm good at. 2001, you could argue, is the best science fiction movie ever made. You can argue that The Shining, people disagree, but you could argue that The Shining is the best horror movie ever made. A lot of people may not agree with that. some people will say Full Metal Jacket is one of the best war movies ever made, and I just think that shows his brilliance, that he's able to go through all those different worlds. And I think he did Spartacus as well.
He did Spartacus.
Which is, it's kind of out of date now, but a phenomenal movie. Absolutely phenomenal.
I seen 2 of his films. My rule with this was I had to see at least 3 of the movies to count them. The thing is with The Shining, my main issue with it is that there's not really a story structure or anything it's really specifically built to. I'm not saying there should be like, a generic plot where it has to go from point A to point B. But normally in a movie, even if it's a simplistic plot and does some kind of the same thing, normally it has to move forward that thing has to move forward to a big third act climax, but it has to in a way move forward to some sort of ending. The Shining kind of did that, but it felt like it's just some characters see a thing, they go crazy, which executes that very well. And honestly, it's not as big of an issue because of how well it executes it, but it's still somewhat of a flaw in my opinion.
Yeah, I know you don't think there's a story that moves it forward. That's what you said.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's not as big of a flaw because of how well done the film.
Yeah, well, it's a unique creation, but I agree. The story probably, the way it's told, is the best. But
2001, I think the reason why I like it more is because it has a bit more of a structure, and there's a reason, and it feels like it's building up more towards something.
The reason I don't like 2001 as much is the acting performances. I think the acting in The Shining is vastly superior to the acting in 2001. The actors in 2001 weren't asked to do a whole lot. I mean, it's a really low-key movie.
And it's more of an atmospheric type film.
Yeah.
Well, The Shining's more of a character-driven.
But the actors in The Shining did a phenomenal... Even the kid did Scatman Crothers did a phenomenal job.
Okay, so... I'm sorry. I know I'm really uncomfortable, but let's see. My number 3 is David Fincher. I've seen 5 of his films. I haven't seen a lot of the well-known ones. I want to see Fight Club, and eventually I might see it. But anyways, I still think his movies are fantastic nonetheless, and I think he just has something with his movies that they're always trying to excel at in a way. Like, there's always something that it's moving towards and that it succeeds at really well. Like, Panic Room is this home invasion movie, but with a twist to it, and that's what makes it so well done. The Game is a movie that's mysterious that you don't know what's going on for the entire runtime until the end. It excels at that. The Curious Case of Benjamin Button is about a character aging backwards and how that would feel like. I think it excels at that perfectly. The Social Network is a film about this guy who's kind of a jerk, but also made Facebook. So he takes these premises, which don't sound very complex on paper, and puts the film out into a 90-minute, sometimes 2-hour runtime, depending on how long he wants the film to be.
I like Fincher as well. He's not on my list, but he would definitely be in my honorable mention, and maybe he should be on my list, somewhere around 9 or 10.
Okay, so what is your runner-up?
My runner-up is... see, I have 3 left. I don't think I miscounted. I have 3 left. I'm going to give all 3. This is my third. We'll just pretend you went first.
Fine.
My third is Quentin Tarantino, which a lot of dark movies for sure. Very interesting style. But again, he does things. He did a movie about slavery, Django Unchained. He did a movie about World War II. He does a lot of different things. He did some horror movies or pseudo-horror movies. Well, Dusk Till Dawn, I know he didn't direct it, but he's involved in it. He's also involved in True Romance. He does some really interesting things. And I like dialogue, and he is a master of dialogue. And I probably have him ranked really high on this list because I remember when I saw Pulp Fiction. And the movies I had seen up to that point all followed the traditional story structure, it seemed like. And here's one that totally flipped that. And now people copy him all the time now. Popular directors had copied him for years. But before that, people didn't really do that, at least in popular movies. And he really changed what that was like.
I mean, I don't have a ton to say about this because I just watched his first movie recently, which is called Inglourious Basterds. It's a really fantastic and well-done film. And I think that just a lot of just the thing is what makes that movie so good is just the fact of, why am I saying one thing? It's basic everything. It's a movie that's all rounded. It has some really nice camera work. It has some fantastic editing. It has some really well done dialogue. Honestly, Brad Pitt, I haven't seen him many stuff in this. I honestly think this is one of his best performances from what I have seen. And then it's just at the ending, it's what would have happened in World War II. Like, this is maybe maybe like a different way of what it was like.
Yeah.
Adolf Hitler clearly is not supposed to be taken seriously in that movie.
Well, it's fantasy.
Yeah, it's a fantasy. It's a movie that's not trying to be realistic or whatever. It's not like something that's Saving Private Ryan, where that's supposed to be like a really powerful movie about war. Well, Inglourious Basterds is a film that isn't really trying to be like that. It's just trying to be like a really fun movie, but also really well made at the same time. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, kind of say these were horrible people, and just in a way, it's like a payoff to World War II.
Yeah, well, it's like what maybe some people would have wanted to happen.
Yeah.
Because of how bad things were.
Yeah, and it's like that's dramatic at the same time, but he does it in a way that's honestly really fun and really just cheesy and over the top. But at the same time, you know that this is like a big payoff.
That's probably the thing that bothers me about him. Like, I like his movies a lot, and I like the acting, like you said, the camera work. I like the music choices. All that's great. Sometimes he goes too far over the top for me. And that's where I'm not always crazy about his work, but he's so unique.
I probably agree with that from what I saw with Inglourious Basterds. Like, I mean, can you reel it back a bit?
Yeah.
Sometimes what I think about movies is like he's such a big, well-known name that everyone loves, everyone appreciates, that it feels like he just knows he can do whatever he wants and he'll just get away with it because people will fanboy him completely. Like, it just feels like that with Inglourious Basterds points where it's like he can just do whatever he wants and no one cares. I love the movie. I think it's fantastic. But it feels like at times, like, it's like, do you have to add Western music in your beginning credits when it's not a Western? Do you have to add all this loud, obnoxious music that is that's abusing my ears?
Well, he likes to mix genres.
I get that, but it's like...
he worked as a video store. He worked in a video store, so he saw a lot of movies.
Yeah, but the bar sequence in that movie is like... It's doesn't need to be that long.
It's a long scene. I think he did that on purpose, you know. But I agree, it's long. It stands out. Who's your next one?
Okay. My number 2 is Michael Bay, obviously. I mean, come on, Michael Bay.
I hope you're joking.
The Rock is such a perfect movie. Best. In all seriousness, it's Martin Scorsese.
Oh, I thought Armageddon you were going to go to next. No.
Martin Scorsese is objectively the best director, but there's one more that's my favorite director of all time, and I think there's a line between what you think is the best and what is your favorite.
Yeah.
Martin Scorsese, Goodfellas is like one of the... it's in my top 10, and I think it's one of the best movies ever made, obviously. That's not really a generic pick. It's my favorite. It's my second favorite biopic, but probably the best made biopic, I think, out of all of them. Scorsese's just great at making real people that aren't really supposed to be great protagonists, aren't supposed to be really likable characters at all. They're just supposed to be human beings, and I think that's why he does so many biopics, because he likes doing real people, and he likes writing and directing real characters, and Goodfellas does show that, Raging Bull shows that, films like that are films like that just show that he's just so good at just having these actors just play human beings, because there's no good guy and bad guy in real life. There's just human beings.
Yeah, no, he's on my list too. He's really good at what he does. I don't like to rewatch his movies because sometimes they're kind of gritty and dark and not fun. But he is really good at what he does. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I want to see more of his work eventually. I love his films just so much.
So I don't know if this is my number 2 or my number 1, but the next one on my list is Spike Lee. Who I have him at 2. And Spike Lee, I think, again, does multiple things well. He did one of the best historical movies I've ever seen, which is called Malcolm X, starring Denzel Washington.
That's a historical movie? It looks like I don't know, like a sci-fi or something like that.
No, Malcolm X is a historical figure.
With a poster, it's like I can like kind of tell like what it's trying to be, and like it looks like with him holding his glasses and stuff, and like the X. No. It looks like a sci-fi movie.
It is not a sci-fi movie.
I know now.
He probably should have won the Oscar for that. He did not win the Oscar for that. Inside Man, which is kind of an underrated movie of his. It's a bank robbery movie, and I like bank heist movies, and it's a really well done one. And he did one called the Five Bloods, which is just on Netflix.
I've heard. I mean, I don't want to. I haven't seen any of his films, but I've heard some people say that he always says you're just salty that my film won Best Picture, whatever, because like he knows that his movies are politically correct and such.
Yeah. He also did the movie Do the Right Thing, which is probably his best movie. And that's a movie about a young man that's faced with a choice about what is the right thing to do in a situation. And the whole movie leads him through that. I think it's a day or a couple days in New York about what he should do. And it sounds simple, but the acting is phenomenal in it. The story is phenomenal. Spike Lee plays the main character. So he wrote it, he directed it, and he plays the main character in the movie.
There's a lot of directors that seem to do that. Like if you've seen Charlie Chaplin's films, which I know you haven't, he'll be like the main character, and he's like the main character in most of his films. And I think Quentin Tarantino was like in the Inglourious Basterds.
He likes to throw himself in little cameos, but Spike Lee is the main character, kind of like Chaplin would be. He's the main character. Everything is around him. He's in almost every scene, and I think that takes a lot of talent to do that. And to make a great movie that, again, probably should have won the Oscar that year, but did not.
Okay, well, I eventually want to rank his films and maybe like watch his movies because I haven't seen any of them. But my number one is you don't like him at all. I think you know who it is already. I've done a ranking on him. He makes a lot of gothic films. It's Tim Burton, obviously.
Oh,
I think you guys know, anyone who watches my videos and content, you know that Tim Burton is my favorite director. And Ed Wood is like in my top 10 favorite films of all time. It's a movie with a character that's just so likable but so horrible at making films. And I think one of the best things about his movies is he just takes these... He has this style that's very similar to a lot of his films, and he takes these characters that look on the outside like they're the same type of people, but the stories he puts them in and the types of characteristics they have are very different because a lot of his characters are outsiders, but they have different personalities, they act different, they react to things differently, and I think that's what makes him such a great director. And the thing is, I don't want to bash Steven Spielberg, but the thing is even though Tim Burton hasn't made the best movies in 2010s, he made Big Eyes, which I think is like the second best movie in 2014, and I think it's the second best movie in his entire career. So I absolutely love his film. I absolutely love his films, and yeah.
Not as big a fan of Tim Burton as you.
I mean, yeah.
He's made a couple good movies, then he's taken some big swings, and in my mind, he's missed on some of them. But I think Ed Wood is a good movie. I think Sleepy Hollow is a pretty good movie. Edward Scissorhands at the time was a really big movie. He's done some good things. Now, my number one, which maybe I had 11, you were just bashing him. I know it's what everyone would think you should say. It's Steven Spielberg. And I thought about this a lot. Again, I'm a child of the 80s. I grew up in the 80s. I saw all Spielberg's movies from the late 70s on. Again, if you're looking for a director that can make a movie about anything, arguably Jaws is one of the best movies of all time.
Wait, so if you saw late 70s, does that mean you saw 1941?
Well, I'm just going to say, I don't think I did. But then Close Encounters of the Third Kind is an amazing movie. You continue to move forward. It's just hit after hit after hit in every genre. Minority Report, a crazily underrated movie, great sci-fi movie. Jurassic Park, I mean... It just seems like did I say E.T.?
No, you didn't
Extra,
say E.T.
E.T. is in there, like, all these phenomenal movies. And I know they all have a Spielberg quality to them. They all have certain tropes, Spielberg tropes in them. But he made movies that people wanted to see again and again, and they're phenomenal. He's involved in Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I know that some of these are cheesy movies and they're popcorn movies, but they're tremendously rewatchable. And his impact on the culture of the 80s and 90s is really hard to underestimate it or to overestimate it. I mean, what the impact he had on culture. I know that hurts you to hear me say Spielberg in the end. But in the end...
I mean, the thing is, he has some really big hits, but he has some really big misses at the same time. Like, he made a film, like this horror film, I forgot what it's called. It's called Something Evil. No one ever adds it in the rankings, and it's really awful.
Well, because he's got like 30 other ones that are amazing. Like, if you want to talk about the best historical movie ever made, is it Schindler's List? It might be.
But there's also Saving Private Ryan.
Then there's one of the best war movies. Is that Saving Private Ryan? Did he make the best war movie? I don't really like Lincoln, but it's a phenomenal historic movie. Is that the best The Color Purple. Like the list just goes on and on with him.
But I mean,
and I'm forgetting movies. I didn't write anything down, but I'm forgetting some. I'm sure.
I mean, there are some he's made that fantastic. But there's also other misses, and
War of the Worlds wasn't great.
I actually kind of like that film. It's hard because I can't name them off the top of my head.
It's hard to name a lot of misses from him.
Yeah, but it's like you really have to dissect his work to be able to find them. And I ranked all of his movies. I should remember some.
But that tells you how good he is. If you have a hard time, because yes, he made movies that weren't great, but he made so many good ones. It's hard to argue against it.
I mean,
even Amistad, which I don't like that much, is a pretty good movie.
I love Amistad.
See there. Maybe I'm going to convert you here.
I have to rewatch his films, but I guess we'll see. So, yeah, you guys, that is the video. If you want to see him more in this type of stuff, let's get this video to 10 likes. I'm going to use my father for likes.
10 likes. Well,
that's what a good son does.
That may not work.
We're going to see. I get 10 likes anyways. But, yeah, either way, we'll see. But anyways, you guys, make sure to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's really trash. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.